All right. Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keene. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully, you got the camera here. If you guys are watching here on YouTube, make sure to hit the like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know what you think if you guys are watching this live or you catch it on the flip side. And make sure to share this. It helps me to get it out there. That way new people can find me and new people can see me. So tonight we have a really cool one too. And if you'd like to donate, support the channel, you can do so by going to PayPal, Cash App, Facebook Messenger, or joining us over on Patreon. I did make an announcement in the last video that we're going to be moving most of the content that we have here on YouTube, on both the YouTube channels. What's up, Ali? Nice to see you, bro. We're going to be moving most of the content that we have here on the YouTube channels over to Patreon. I'll try to keep as much if I can of it, like for free or whatever. But because of the nature of the content that we've done, for one, it's just gotten us demonetized and heavily censored. So the only way that we can really kind of protect ourselves legally now is by getting people to join a membership. And I do have a free membership option over on Patreon. That way you're actually choosing to, partake into the content and check it out and listen and all that good stuff. I do want to say thank you to everybody for joining me. If you're watching this in the chat, please hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. Tonight, we're going to be looking at extraterrestrials, prison planet Earth. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this concept because, there's a few different theories. Matter of fact, I'm going to get ready to share screens here in just a moment. But some of the more prominent theories is the Terrarium theory, as well as the zoo hypothesis. And, these are just different theories that basically state that humanity was put here, placed here, seated here on planet Earth by an extraterrestrial race, right? And if any of you guys are familiar with my work at all, any of my content at all, then we've looked at a lot of ancient and sacred texts and different mythologies, and almost all of them, describe ETs, aliens, angels, whatever, right? Heavenly beings, otherworldly beings that either genetically altered humanity, right? So there was some sort of species, some mammalian species that was already here. I've kind of, theorized that it's probably something akin to like Neanderthal or something like that. This before the giant shift, in humanity to Chrono-Magnus. Where all of a sudden we're painting on caves, we have language, we're becoming social creatures and all of this, right? And then we've seen different things as far as like genetically when it comes to, scientific, as far as like the telomere effect. You guys are probably also familiar with that if you've, watched my content where, and you look back in like the book of Noah, or if we go even further, the original of the flood, and that's the Sumerian tablets, Vayasudra, where, it said mankind, the spirit of God shall not reside in mankind or abide in mankind forever, right? So our days were shortened to 120 years, and scientists have studied humanity and our telomeres, which are like responsible for us to be able to regenerate, right? And live longer, appear to have been altered, right? Cut off to the point to where, we literally can't live past 120 years. I mean, no matter how good we take care of ourselves, it's like something didn't want us to. And if you think about, the concept of what it would be like if you oppressed a species, if you oppressed a species and they were a species that had the ability to live fucking 500 or 1,000 years or whatever, right? Incredibly long periods of time. shortening their lifespan, would keep them, especially if they had went through some sort of cataclysm, catastrophe on planet Earth. And we know that through soil records, that in fact has happened, right? There's been floods, there's been volcanic eruptions, there's been, ice ages such as the Younger Dryas, and all of these different, catastrophic events, that appear to have really set, humanity back quite a bit, as far as like technologically and our knowledge, and our ability to to take care of ourselves. We had to relearn agriculture and metallurgy, and studying the anatomy and the medical field and all of these different things. We had to relearn it because all of our knowledge was lost. And a lot of these ancient texts and these mythos, they say, that there was this period of time where humanity became evil, or the Tower of Babel, right? We tried to overthrow God. And if you think about it, if God is, and we know, if you've watched this channel, that according to the biblical text, God is Elohim, right? Or Anunnaki, if you look at the Sumerian, or, insert any other deity, Olympians, Asir, or whatever, depending on the mythology that you're looking at. But these are created beings, man. These are fucking created beings is the point. Not creators, or created as well. And, it appears as if they have altered us. It appears as if they, acted as judges upon humanity, deciding whether we live or die, whether we're worthy of progressing, or, anything else. So, and if you guys are watching in the chat, I would like to know if you guys can hear me and see me good and all that good stuff. Hopefully everything is working fine. But they're and look at the Elohim. If we look at the Hebrew translation, I won't go through all of this. I've got government documents we're going to look at, as far as like unidentified flying objects, unidentified aerial phenomena is what it's called now. Extraterrestrial biological entities, and all these different government reports and sightings where the government itself has documented these things, such as Project Blue Book and a million other things, right? And I have, different videos, and we're just going to kind of look at like the evidence to see if because there's many people, especially, thank you so much, Teresa, I appreciate that. There's many people that have told you along the way that this is it's a scam, right? That there is no such thing as aliens, that this is that the government, it's another false flag or another crisis event, that they're going to use for this false alien invasion through what is it, Project Bluebeam or whatever, right? Through holographic technology to fake alien invasion. That way they can institute this new world order or one world government, this totalitarian slave state, and we've heard, like a multitude of ways that they could accomplish this. And we could even go back to, Ronald Reagan when he, implemented Star Wars, which was the satellites around the Earth for defense against nuclear weapons, right? Strategic defense against nuclear weapons. And what that's actually turned into, today, these defensive measures have actually become defensive measures and precautions against the people themselves, right? The citizens of these countries that launched them up into the sky, these satellites. And if you think about that, it's just been used to implement a surveillance state. So it's really not outside of the realm a possibility, to come to the conclusion that, that they would be willing to create some sort of, event like what, we're talking about with the Project Bluebeam, so, especially to seize more control over the population and implement a police state. If you think about, 9/11, right? And you think about all of the school, bang bangs, and, COVID and the war on drugs and the war on terror and just all of these things. Anytime it's like in the name of safety and security, it ends up being something totally, totally different than what we're being told. And it's the problem, reaction, solution, where, they present a problem, anticipate our reaction, the population's reaction, so they can implement a particular solution, that they already had waiting in the wings for us. Ali asked, how do you think they'll play this card, brother? Many scenarios and narrative possibilities. It's a really good question, Ali. And if you guys have not checked out El Peso Ali's YouTube channel, his Instagram, he does incredible work. He's got a Truth is Resonant series. It's just it's amazing. It's really enlightening. I think a lot of people that watch my content would definitely enjoy that as well. Yeah, bro, if I'm really being honest on how I think they would go about this, I think for one, we're already in the midst of this, right? If you guys have ever studied, the modern day father of Freemasonry, Albert Pike, right? And, his letter to Mazzini from 1871, the 3 World Wars, where he describes the outline of how they bring about this utopian dream of the New World Order. And it's through world wars, right? And the final world war being the social cataclysm that we see now, where they pit the nihilist against the atheist against Christians and conservatives. And you see it now. It's this game of divide and conquer to keep everyone divided, fighting against one another. And it's been very, very effective. While they are collapsing the system around us and essentially, manipulating all the mechanisms into their favor, right? And think about COVID and just how not only divisive that was, that entire deal, but how damaging that was to society, to the collective psyche of people. And how much, bullshit and horseshit was associated with that. To this day, half of the people, believe that whole thing was not what it was made out to be. And that, that was psychological warfare operation, being delivered to bring in this one world system as well. And think about all the governments of the world operated, in the same exact manner, bringing in the same exact things, unrolling the same exact agenda onto the population. And if I do see, and let's just say, if it's real, if this is real, which we're going to look at in just a moment, we're going to hop in this. If this is real and extraterrestrials are real and these ancient texts are telling the truth, that, it's not just us being in touch with the divine, right? When it says that we walk with the gods, but it's an actual, other species, an intradimensional species of beings that are highly technologically advanced. They travel the stars. They are so advanced that they're able to build a fucking terrarium to keep our ass in. That means Earth is in essence a fish tank, and the whole firmament concept and all of that is true. If that be the case, like we're living in a holographic projection and illusion. They've trapped our essence or energy somewhere, and are using our emotions to psychically, they're psychic vampires. They're feeding off of that essence by us giving our attention and energy to particular things, right? Negativity and all of it, right? Whether we're worshiping a god in a positive way or, we're having fear of something, either emotion, and they would cover both sides of the spectrum, playing good cop, bad cop. And if you think about it, that's a grand possibility. And them, genetically altering us, trapping us in the physical flesh with some primate species that was already here in their little experiment. What do we give our life to? Well, think about it. What do we give our fucking lives to? We give our life force to whatever we put our energy into, And most people, they don't put their energy into things that actually matter. Most people's idea of what truly matters isn't like, family or love or, connection or any of those things. What most people, truly, truly value is the things of the flesh, is instant gratification, things that are incredibly temporary, incredibly temporary. And that says a lot about a person's character. It says a lot about the nature of a person that is that way. And we've been engineered to be that way. People think that they're thinking for themselves and that they're free minds, but they're actually not, right? They've been programmed to believe the things that they believe, all of the things of the world have been glorified, the consumerism, the materialism, right? Sex, drugs, alcohol, right? The nightlife, all of these things, have been pushed down their neck as like, this is what fun is, and this is what matters. And it's like keeping up an appearance, people feeding their egos for what people think of them outside of themselves. And for two, people only having a reality that's no bigger than themselves. It's a self-serving reality where it doesn't matter who they hurt. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Like how anyone is affected as long as they're getting their way, right? And they're serving, their carnal desires, their lower nature, And they've learned, most people that live in this way justify this way of living and justify this way of life, however they need to, and this is like when you see people that, harm people and hurt people, kill people, they always say that the person like deserved it, or, you know what I mean? Like, when they take matters into their own hands, and take life away from other people, or, people when they're unfaithful in relationships, they'll find some way to justify why the partner had it coming, you know what I mean? Like no matter whether they were good or bad partner, like the things that we do to one another, is essentially what we do to ourselves. And if we truly loved ourselves and we truly respected ourselves, we would never be able to disrespect or, show anything other than love to others as well, And if we see this, and if things are the way that they are, the government has absolutely no control or no say in this. And this could be why you see our government and the governments of the world basically turn a blind eye to all of the UFO sightings and shit like that, abduction reports. It's because what are they going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? Honestly, if the governments of the world have found out the truth, and that the truth is we've been genetically modified, that we live in a fucking glorified terrarium, right? And aliens have trapped us here in these physical bodies in order to feed off of our energy, that we got deceived by some race or species of creatures, maybe a long time ago, like what we see the Bible say, the fallen angels and being deceived by Satan and all of this, or we're living in some sort of simulation and our essence is trapped in some other place. What would they do? Honestly, what could they do? They couldn't do a fucking thing. They wouldn't report UFO sightings. They wouldn't try to, and if you think about what they've done with like the Manhattan Project and atomic bombs and things of that nature. They used to try to blow up the fucking firmament, right? They were shooting bombs at the goddamn dome. Why? Why were they trying to escape here? Think about the Tower of Babel. Think about the Tower of Babel. Why were we trying to create this tower or unify ourselves and unify a force against God? Why were we trying to break out of here? And it's like, this is just logic and common sense. And I'm not saying anything is true one way or the other. I'm just simply speculating, theorizing, and giving my opinions. As a matter of fact, we're going to start jumping into some of this here. Hold on. I'll give you guys a screen. But you see what I'm saying, though? And it's like, if this is true, if the way that I'm, saying it could possibly be, then what the fuck would they do? There's nothing they could do. Of course they wouldn't report an alien sighting. Of course they wouldn't report any of these things. Who are they going to report to? What are they going to do about it? These are the entities that were so far advanced, they were able to create them. They were able to genetically modify them, trap them in physical bodies, a physical vessel, and build a damn world around them, and modify them in such a way that we only see 0.00001% of the electromagnetic light spectrum, meaning we don't even see outside of the cage. We can't. We're created to be dumbed down. We're created to be deaf, dumb, and blind. We have these very limited, perceptions through our five senses, and that's fucking it. That's it. And even when we are able to access that kundalini energy and, find enlightenment through our third eye, our pineal gland, and all of that, it's only temporary. Notice nobody can ever hold that for an infinite period of time. It goes up and down. And why is that? Why is that? You got to ask yourself that. Why can't we hold that state and ascend right out of this place? Go through the roof, if you will. Ascend right out of the roof consciously. Because I think, in my opinion, they just want us to, to be able to reach different frequencies or levels of energy to be able to harness those particular energies, to be able to feed off those particular energies. God and the devil are the same damn person. They're on the same damn team. Because if not, think about it. Why wouldn't the angels destroy the fallen angels? Why would they just trap them down here with us to feed on our asses? And if we got deceived by them and misled by them, why would we get punished by being destroyed by a flood? Why would we be punished, for reaching the, and have giants placed down here with us that were devouring our ass? It's like, think about the logical, explanation for these things. It's like, it was intentional. It was intentional. They put those giants down here to feed off of us. Those were, the offspring of the gods and man. So they were mating with us to create a middleman. And they acted, and think about the Sumerian kings list. Think about the heroes of old, the men of renown, right? These Nephilim. They were the kings, right, of the world. They were the pharaohs. They were the ones who ruled over all of us. That's where kingship and the monarchs and all of this had divine right, because they were the descendants of the gods. They had the bloodline of the gods. That's where still today we get these 13 families, these 13 bloodlines. That's where that comes from, Now, we're going to take a look here. And this is, to me, and And just to kind of like, and I know it's a long-winded version of answering your question, Ali, but and let's just say hypothetically, and it's nice to see you, Ali, Teresa Lee, Kathleen McKay, Backass Words, Weird World. I appreciate all of you guys. I really do. Let me fix my chat here. There we go. Sally Puller. But, it's like, if it is a hoax or whatever, if it is, this elaborate, bullshit that they're using to implement the new world order and unite humanity against this alien threat and Project Bluebeam and all of these things, like we've been told by people, theories have emerged. That it makes sense, but that to me makes far less sense than it just actually being true at this point. Because have you ever noticed, and think about it, and if they were going to fake some sort of alien invasion, yeah, of course, that would be the way they do it. We know that, through chemtrails or whatever, these planes are dropping nanoparticulates throughout the sky, right? Which they have the ability to be able to refract and reflect light, and bend light and even make things appear invisible and all kinds of shit. I've shown you guys the abstracts on those things, and if you're using holographic technology, which we know is also a thing, and you have Starlink and the entire globe covered by satellites, and DARPA launching 20,000 fucking satellites a month, and everything being connected to 5th generation technology, which has the ability to wage silent warfare on humanity, millimeter wave and its ability to make the water molecules rotate in your body, making you feel like you're on fire, these pain rays, death rays, all these different things to control, active denial systems. Yeah. They have the technology to kind of back it up and make it appear as if it's alien. We could say that. And then, they could, whatever damage is done, they could blame it on, alien races instead of the governments itself. But then it just kind of, it goes to show, it's like, well, we've made this giant technological advance over the last 100 years, during the Industrial Revolution. During the Industrial Revolution, and yes, does it have something to do with us shifting into the Aquarian age, and that as we're coming to the end of the age of Pisces and shifting into this age, we always know that, human consciousness, it peaks, right? And the Aquarian age is about, technology. That's that type of astrological energy for technology and advancement. But at the same time, why do these cycles in these ages, we only, hit the peak of consciousness at the very end of them before we're destroyed, before they reset the earth? Why are these cycles that we see experienced here on Earth where they happen to global resets? Think about World War I, World War II, and then like we said about World War III, Albert Pike, this social cataclysm that's taking place that we're in the midst of now, right? All the silent warfare, where we've watched all the governments of the world, have these coups, worked against them, and it's really psychological warfare against the populations, by presenting them with a version of reality that's not true, getting them to, in essence, manifest the version of reality that the controllers, and manipulators want it to be. We've went right along with it, and they've always tried to create and paint the illusion that they are all powerful. The governments of the world have, right? That they can do anything. They can control minds. They can, they can do anything. And a lot of times they can control the weather. They can, right? And we've been, and we've been programmed to believe that there's nothing they can't do. There's nothing they can't see. There's nothing they don't know, right? They're all powerful. They're God. In essence, of most people, the state has become God, and that's part of the 10-point plan of the New World Order by Alice Bailey, right? Where they said that, making government God, replacing parents with the state, and destroying morality and just the nuclear family. And we've seen all of these things happen. So is this one big giant elaborate illusion by the governments of the world, these hidden hands of the world, these secret societies and controlling powers, to essentially keep us in the dark, keep us confused, scared, so they can keep control of us and implement this, surveillance state, this police state, right? And grab ultimate wealth and ultimate power, where the rest of us are kind of scrambling around wondering what the fuck is going on, fighting one another, or is this, part of a plan, or is that part of it? But the ones that are doing this are descendants of those bloodlines, and it really is this extraterrestrial fucking terrarium where we're being farmed, and at the end of each one of these cycles, even the Bible says it's a harvest, right? And what are they harvesting? It's us. We're what's being harvested. I want you to think about, cattle and shit like that. They live out in a giant fields, and they never know sometimes where the field even ends. It can be that big, right? And they're fed and they're taken care of, and and out there in the field, you have a hierarchy and everything, just like here. It's like the farmer basically leaves them alone. Sometimes he'll knock a couple of them out with tranquilizers to go take some eggs and shit for reproduction, just like we hear with the abduction stories about us, And then when it's time for slaughter, it's time for harvest, they don't even know that they're being led to that. It just happens. So I'm just saying, it's, and like I said, all these ancient texts, they tell us that this is how we got here. They tell us that this is what's happening. They tell us we're made as a slave race, right, to harvest, to mine gold, right? And what is gold in the spiritual text but spirit? It's energy, right? It's loosh. So let's take a look at some of these different hypotheses here. We have the zoo hypothesis. Now, the zoo hypothesis speculates on the assumed behavior and existence of technologically advanced extraterrestrial life and the reasons they refrain from contacting Earth. It is one of many theoretical explanations for the Fermi paradox. The hypothesis states that extraterrestrial life intentionally avoids communication with the Earth to allow for natural evolution and socio-cultural development, and avoiding interplanetary contamination, similar to people observing animals at a zoo. The hypothesis seeks to explain the apparent absence of extraterrestrial life despite its generally accepted plausibility, and hence the reasonable expectation of its existence. Extraterrestrial life forms, for example, choose to allow contact once the human species has passed certain technological, political, and or ethical standards. Alternatively, they may withhold contact until humans force contact upon them, possibly by sending a spacecraft to an extraterrestrial inhabited planet. In this regard, reluctance to initiate contact could reflect a sensible desire to minimize risk. An extraterrestrial society with advanced remote sensing technologies may conclude that direct contact with neighbors confers added risk to itself without an added benefit. A variant on the zoo hypothesis suggested by former MIT Haystack Observatory scientist John Allen Ball, JAB is his initials, is the laboratory hypothesis, in which humanity is being subjected to experiments, with Earth serving as a giant laboratory. Ball describes this hypothesis as morbid and grotesque, simultaneously overlooking the possibility that such experiments may be altruistic. designed to accelerate the pace of civilization, to overcome a tendency for intelligent life to destroy itself until a species is sufficiently developed to establish contact. And I just kind of want to, you know, kind of hit you with something here. And I've heard this, you know, be kind of like a description for some of this. Lab rats we are. Yeah, I agree with that. I really do believe that's, you know, if extraterrestrials are indeed real, and you know, it's alien civilizations that actually, you know, engineered humanity, created the earth, and it's some sort of terrarium, you know, or habitat for us, like a giant zoo. And think about it, we do create habitats for animals in zoos that are damn near identical to what their, you know, real habitat would be, you know. And our fall from Eden, right, when the gods tempted us, think about that. You know, maybe Eden was our original home, you know, and that was, you know, we had no suffering, we had no nothing, right? And the introduction of the knowledge of good and evil, meaning we had darkness, you know, put into our essence, right? And darkness is distortion, right? It's vampiric, you know, and you know, this psychic vampire type of, you know, intradimensional entity concept, you know, where, you know, demonic entities, archonic entities, and all these things, these gods, these deities, you know, that was the introduction of that, you know, in our original state. We were taken from that and we were put on the earth, right? You know, and we were genetically modified. You know, man had to get his, you know, his living out of the dust, right? Adam came from the dust and all of this. And if we really, like, you know, and I've talked about this too, you know, like the dust, also another translation is clay or the earth, right? So like when you think about Prometheus, how he molded us from clay, right? Stole the, you know, the divine spark and placed it in us. Maybe that was taking us from Eden as well, right? And putting us in this physical existence. Or how about the golden age that's referred to, the Saturnian golden age? And Zeus gets mad because Prometheus gave us this divine spark and he takes it away from us. So Prometheus, and this is, you know, the Greek epics, decides to trick Zeus, right? Because Prometheus is Lucifer. He's the light bearer, right? He decides to trick Zeus. And what he actually does when he tricks Zeus is he brings a bull, a Taurus, the age of Taurus, right? So this kind of like, you know, we've got this 6,000 year type of history, which is fucking crazy if you think about it. Maybe that's how long we've been enslaved. Who knows? And you know, he takes his bull and he offers, you know, puts it in two piles, right? And gives the bigger pile to Zeus, the smaller pile to man. He makes two piles and allows Zeus to choose, right? The gods to choose. And of course, Zeus chooses the bigger pile. Well, the bigger pile was garbage, right? It was just all the bullshit from the bull. And the smaller pile was all the good stuff, right? And because of that, that's what got Prometheus, you know, tortured, basically. They put him on a cross, right? Like Christ. And I think it's some type of bird. It could have been an eagle or a vulture or something like that. And it would come every day and eat his liver, and it would regenerate, right, and happen over and over again. And I feel like that is a allegory too for humanity and creation, if we think about it, right? You know, liver is part of like the life force of you know, it's very sacred, right? You know, by hunters and Native Americans, and you know, and it has the ability to regenerate, right? And think about the telomeres and how they regenerate life and all this as well, right? And these cycles, right? it starts over and over again. It's like there's nothing new under the sun. We operate in cycles, and it is, and the vultures is something in it from the sky, a bird that flies. All these gods have bird heads and all this shit, right? And it's something that eats something that's dead, and it's like devouring our energy, and we just we regenerate every cycle, right? It starts over again, and we're being devoured every cycle, piece by piece, through pain, through suffering, through torture, right? And that could be, and that's our our enlightened, because of our enlightened state. And if you think about Enki and Enlil, in the Sumerian text, and I'll get in that in just a moment, kind of show you some of this stuff as we go through. Um, you think about that and how Enki, which is basically it's another word for I am, right? He was Lord of the water, Ea first, and then Lord of the earth. And Enki, in different translations, it means I am, and it's I am who I am, or I will be who I will be, right? And his brother Enlil, which would be like that dark lord, and it says that, Enlil didn't want us to be created, and Enki gave us our essence in a species that was already here on Earth, right? It was like a type of a caveman or a monkey species, basically, right? And the Anunnaki put their essence inside of man, and made us one to create a slave race. And Enlil even says slavery was abolished on our planet. And he said, well, there won't be slaves, there'll be helpers, helpers. And you can think about the story of Adam and Eve, right? And from rib, woman was created, right? Woman means man with the womb, or of man, right? And rib is actually something from DNA, So I mean, like, there's all of these different ways that we hear these, these epics and these mythologies and these texts that tell us a story, and it's kind of giving it to us in a way where one could kind of surmise that, we were taken from some other place. And even Genesis, when it talks about, and I've showed this the other day, let me see if I can pull this up. I'm not going to go through the stuff you normally see with Genesis. And we're getting to some of these documents. I've got a lot of government documents I want to show and all that as well. All right. One moment. So, right here, it's already highlighted. Now the earth was without shape and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the watery deep, but the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water. So just think about what's actually being said. Most people, won't even catch this, but the earth was without shape, meaning it was desolate, right? It was desolated. It was already fucking destroyed. It was already destroyed, and empty, void, an indistinguishable ruin. It was in desolated ruin, is what they're saying, right? It was in desolated ruin, misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, and wickedness. Now think about that. So I would, and I'd like to kind of just ask you too, your opinion on this. If you're watching at home, you catch this on the flip side. Oh, thanks, Ali. I appreciate you. Nice to see you too, Graceful Heart. I want you to kind of like think about this, man. Not only was the earth already in desolation and ruin, right, when Genesis begins here, and if we go to Genesis 6, we will see where the Genesis 6 conspiracy begins, right? And if you guys join me on Patreon, I do have like 4 different shows I did with the author of the Genesis 6 conspiracy, Gary Wayne, which he just did Genesis 6 Conspiracy 2, just released the second book to that. It took him 30 years of research to write the first one. I also have, videos with Dave Dobbs, Global Witness, all different types of people. So yeah, good stuff. And like I said, I'm moving all my old content over to Patreon, and I do have free tiers, so you can join for free and see some stuff. But anyways, right? So we do know that the earth was already desolated and in ruin, right? This is what it's saying in the book of Genesis, and that there was already darkness there. Nice to see you, Jay Marshall, as well. Good evening. And that there was already darkness there. And darkness, the dark, misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, and wickedness, right? So think about the theory of the fallen angels, right? They were deceived by Satan, right? Satan, another word for Saturn, right? And we talked about in the last video the Saturn moon matrix, right? This Saturn solar system, that everything inside the bounds of Saturn is controlled by Saturn. Saturn is Chronos, or Father Time. We're trapped in, the illusion of time, right? Within this solar system. Okay. And you think about the fall, right? And in Eden, we were in this perfect state. And if you read the first book of Adam and Eve, it says that when the angels seen us, and I want you to think about this, when the angels seen us, they fell down on their face and worshiped us because they believed we were God. This is the first book of Adam and Eve. That's what says this. Now, I want you to think about that. Why would angels that come from heaven, right? These sons of God fall down on their face and think that we're God, and we were in this androgyne form where we was both male, female. We were, these remarkable beings of light, according to this text, And you think about the first book of Pistis Sophia as well. Sophia being the Holy Spirit, Spirit of wisdom and truth and all of this, falling from the 13th aeon, right? 13 in Freemasonry, considered an unlucky number, right? 13 is an occulted number, big time. The 13th constellation in the zodiac is Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is supposed to emerge at the end of cycles because there is like a tilt on the earth or whatever. And it's the 13th, sign of the zodiac. And it is a man. I'll show you the image of Ophiuchus. Oops, I got this opening twice here. Let me close one of them. There we go. Right, now look at it. Here's the image of Ophiuchus. Right? Ophiuchus. It's a man. And he has a serpent, right? And the serpent's wrapping around his body. And at the top half of his body, which is his higher nature, right? His higher self, if you will, he's in control of that serpent, that snake, right? He's got a hold of it. He's controlling it. And then in his lower half, the lower nature, the serpent is wrapped around his legs, like strangling his body. It's controlling him, And this is supposed to emerge right before pole shift and the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, right? That's when Ophiuchus is supposed to emerge because it's supposed to have some sort of tilt to the planet. This is just a theory, guys, And we do know that the magnetic pole, absolutely. Let's see if I can show you this. Oops. Magnetic pole has migrated, right? It's moved. See? 10 years of acceleration, Look, and it's moved, and its final point is Siberia, right? That's where it's ending up at. And we're less than 40 miles away from that point now. So the magnetic north of the Earth, and you can see from 1850 to 2020 where the fucking thing has moved. That's incredible. That's incredible, right? The movement of that, the magnetic motion is just insane. Insane, right? And this is magnetism, is it's polarity. We live in an electromagnetic, creation. We're electromagnetic beings. Electric being the positive, force, the arcing force of energy, and magnetism being that, that pulling force, right, of negativity. So these pole shifts were shifting one way or the other. And you think about the emerald tablets of Thoth, and what does he talk about? The great flower, turning its direction. That's when he went away for a while, right? Thoth did. And he's the god of wisdom, the god of truth. Hermes as well. Known in Egypt, primarily, and then, the Greeks, and, he's many books have been attributed to him, and the emerald tablets supposed to be these tablets that were found. I believe they were moved from the Mayan temples to the Great Pyramids and found under the Great Pyramid. That was attributed to Cheops, but it was actually Thoth that built these great pyramids in Egypt. And they were, these, and I've talked about this, these ancient structures were actually, structures to harness the energy of the earth, right? So we know that pyramidal structure or shape is ideal to harness ferrofluid, right? Magnetism, if you will, as well as these Vimanas and all of this are the same exact shapes that are used in the tips of stealth bombers and shit for radar. So they're for frequency, right? Colosseum's the same thing. It's the amplification of energy, So these technologically advanced creations that were made, fucking at least 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, probably far, far longer than that, that were attributed to the gods, right? These would have been the alien beings, and we even know that in the Anunnaki tales, they talk about, Mars being a way station, right? And there has been what, many images come back from Mars. And see pyramidal structures found on Mars too. Isn't that interesting, right? Isn't that interesting? And this is allegedly where the Anunnaki, had a way station on their way from, Nibiru to the Earth, and they lived there as well, so, and we know that science says that Mars was once like Earth, still has frozen water and it lost its atmosphere, and you think about the destruction of Tiamat, or the planet that was between, Mars and Jupiter, right? And created the hammered bracelet, or, the asteroid belt. They say in those tales that, the Anunnaki, Marduk destroyed Tiamat and all of this, right? And that, the Earth is allegedly, a piece of that planet. So was it in fact, and this is a fucking crazy theory to think about, was it in fact what happened was we lived on this other planet, and it was Eden, right? Tiamat. And that these ancient astronauts came and destroyed that planet, right? And took their essence and mixed it with the hominid species that was from this planet, the conscious species that was from this planet. Probably didn't use any language or anything. They were probably like an all-natural being or entity where they used their heart language and everything, communicated telepathically. Who knows, right? And they took parts of that, what was left of that, right? The earth, when they made like an ark after the destruction. And remember, in the Genesis, it says, right? The earth, which is the domain so named by Yahweh, was without shape and empty. It was a desert. It was desolation, a worthless thing. It was an indistinguishable ruin, right? And darkness, meaning misery, destruction, ignorance, sorrow, and wickedness. What if they destroyed this Tiamat, which was our original home, or Eden, genetically altered us and used, created an ark, Noah's ark, right? Which, Noah would in essence be like one of these Nephilim or sons of the gods, right? He lived for 700-800 years or whatever. Maybe he was one of the last races that lived on this planet. Who even knows? And then they use their essence with ours, and what was the seeds of that planet they put here in this terrarium we call Earth, right? And the animals and all of that, it made us a slave race here. Now we live in this sort of simulation, right? This simulation where they've cut our years short. They farm us, they harvest us at the end of these cycles, for our energy or for gold, and in essence, they say we're not a slave race because they're not standing over top of us. We're helpers, right? Because they needed gold for their atmosphere, right? Meaning they were some sort of species or being, this gold, like I said. And if we look it up, hopefully I can find this. Yeah, see, gold, symbol of earthly riches, It's non-perishable. It symbolizes immortality or incorruptibility, and it represents holiness or wholeness, right? So it's royalty and everything, right? Gold is, it's his spirit or the heavens, and they have us harvesting or mining this gold through our lives, right? Through this illusion, this simulation that they've created, this holographic reality. And that's why it says in Genesis, we were made in the image of the Elohim, which were supreme magistrates. And remember, magistrates are judges, right? That's why, as judges, they're judging humanity, right? Deciding who, when we live, when we die. They're shortening our lifespans by, altering our telomeres. They have created, and even in Enoch talks about these different gates that the sun and the moon operate through, and where the winds and the waters come from here on earth. I mean, it's just, literally everything being controlled, right? And they decide at the end of these cycles, when they're over, and, in everything. So, if you really look at it, and we're going to look into some of the government documents now too, and some of eyewitness testimony and all these different things kind of show you who these gods truly are. Because I feel like, this is my opinion. This is my opinion, honestly. If you think of like, nice to see you, Eric Elliott, as well. Space arc when waters are poured. Yeah, the above waters poured in. Yeah, the great flood. Right. Think about that too. That's what I'm saying. It's fucking nuts when you think about it. These waters poured in during the great flood. Right. Where did they come from? Space, but where did they come to? Earth. Right. There's like the transference of us from, where we were to there. And it talks about in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth how the Temple of Light, right, was submerged underwater, right? Yeah. And that Thoth's father, Thoth, he was, something from the temple dweller, from the voice that must be obeyed. I mean, it's just fucking nuts when you truly think about this, and that these temple priests were, to preserve his mysteries, preserve his secrets, and that's where these secret societies come into place. And think about it. Secret societies and Freemasonry and all this, what do they do? But it's the Temple of Solomon, who was the wisest man to ever lived, and he used demons to build his temple. Think about what demons are. Demons are masks. They're domains. They're personas, right? You're a demon. I am a demon. We're all a demon. It's our disembodied ego is a demon, right? So this illusion, the little soul, the Ka and the Ba, the little souls are used to build this temple, this slave race, right? In this golden fucking temple, and it's, the Heliopolis, the two pillars, the duality, right? And think about Eden, the fall from Eden by this serpent, which is the caduceus or the double helix, right? And it was introduced by, the deceiver, Satan, the serpent, or the seraph, right? This seraphic species. And I'll show you. And you can take it however you want. People can believe what they want to believe, but I'm just saying, everything's kind of telling us this. Seraphim are celestial beings that appear in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic literature. The origin is originated in ancient Judaism and mentioned in the Old Testament. They're often depicted with 2 or 3 pairs of wings and sometimes called the burning ones or the shining ones, which is also the Anunnaki, or the shining ones, right? Now think about some of the names. In Jewish history, seraphim have names including Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Jeremiel, Ragiel, Zerachiel, Remiel. Lucifer was once a seraph, but lost his rank and position after sinning. Were we Lucifer? Right? The story of Prometheus, and like I said, him being put on the cross and the vultures, eating, from his liver, and it, regenerating every day, right? And think about, all of the symbolism, with the days and, according to, and the sun worship and shit like that we have taking place now. Jesus rose from the dead 3 days later. Is that 3 cycles? Or, what are we being told here? And the seraphs have different purpose: to conceal the angel's face, the face of God. No one looked upon that face and lived, right? And to cover the feet. And remember, the earth is God's footstool, right? So to cover the earth, hide the earth, and conceal us from seeing God, right? And the remaining to fly, it's fucking crazy, man. And they're the highest ranking celestial beings in the hierarchy of angels. I'm just saying. Pretty nuts when you start thinking about it. Pretty nuts. And see how they're covering the eyes here in this image? See how the eyes are covered here? Pretty wild, ain't it? And you can see just Mesopotamia, all these different, they're all bird beings. There's the bull right there. And think about, the bull, the age of Taurus, right? Mount Sinai, Moses in the burning bush. I'm just trying to tell you, man, this shit is far more legit than people think it is. That's for real. Far more legit than people think it is. Now, it's kind of move it forward here. Like I said, we have these different theories here, and I'm just going to go through a couple of these, and then we're going to hop into the documents and shit like that as well. I am paying attention to the chat. Dave the Patriot says, John, do you think the occult is a front or a smokescreen for aliens? Do you think the aliens is a front or a smokescreen for demons? Hello again, by the way. That is a really good question, Dave. And if I honestly, to answer that honestly, the occult means hidden, right? So yes, and I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean by a smoke screen for the aliens. Do you mean as in like these occult teachings are intended to deceive us, by these aliens? Because that's what some folks believe, that the occult teachings are in fact perverse teachings, and that they're not the truth, and that they'll mislead people and deceive people and teach us to worship, angels and, these aliens and shit like that. So, I mean, there is that perspective of it. But I do believe that, I do believe, though, that let's just say, and we're going to, hypothesize a lot of things and theorize a lot of things tonight. But let's just say that, in theory that, the aliens are real. They are these fallen angels, these seraphim, like fake occult, actually controlled by aliens. I would say that, I would say, if it is fake, then yes, it is controlled by aliens, absolutely, and it is to pull you away from God. Yeah, and some people do believe that, that it is just to pull you away from God, to get you to worship yourself, essentially indoctrinate you into the very beliefs that they have, right? And if you think about a fallen species, right, one that deceived us out of our birthright already, right, because we have fallen from fucking, Eden, and we've fallen from heaven as well, right? Whether we're the fallen angels or we're just mankind, either way you want to look at it, we've fallen. We were tricked. We were tempted. We failed also. And a lot of the occult teachings, do end up in like the worshiping or veneration of Lucifer or Satan. Misery loves company. Isn't that the truth? Misery loves company. A lot of the occult teachings do end up in the veneration of Lucifer or Satan or worship of the self. And remember, the Bible says not to worship false idols. And an idol, according to Genesis, we are the idol. A phantom, projection, an illusion, an idol, a resemblance, right? That's us. That's according to, the etymology of these words, Or, you could look at it like this too, that the occult is actually, the reason that it's hidden is because, once you dive down these rabbit holes, you actually begin to, it's not that exoteric, worldly indoctrinated perspective, right? We know religion, or yes, we are a false idol, unless, and here's where this gets so crazy to me, and I don't want to confuse people or anything, but I'm trying to look at both sides, of the coin here. In Genesis, and I'll show you just real quick, and people have seen it a lot, but right. Let me show you. Right here. God said, let us make humankind in our image, right? And image means a phantom, an illusion, a resemblance, a representative figure, an idol, right? It's a shade. It's a shade, you know? It's fucking crazy when you think about it. We are a shadow down here, you know, a shadow of our true essence, our true self, our angelic or spiritual or light essence. You know, we're human. We are a light being, you know, and it is our spirit that animates everything, you know, and this is a representation of us, you know, and through our DNA. And just think about this: what if DNA has nothing to do with us at all? What if DNA is in fact the angels? You know, that's what they have, you know, and it's them mixing their DNA with our light essence that has us give, physical form, you know. And if you think about how everybody's genetics are individual, including we all have individual electromagnetic signatures as well, you know, our finger prints, the tops of our head and everything, right? It's all individual, right? No two are the same. Our eyes, all of it, right? And they are electromagnetic signatures, right? So they're signatures of our frequency, right? And our DNA is a code or a genetic code that is a match to our frequency, our essence. And that's why my soul can't jump into your body because it doesn't line up, right? My aura is an example of that electromagnetic signature or frequency, you know, and it is made up of my astrology, right? The astrological placements and prominent energies that were aligned and in place when I was conceived and born, as well as the numerology, meaning the numerical code of my birth date, and or the my name, which is my mantra. You know, it's affirming my identity because every name has meaning as well. You know, and it's in essence an affirmation every time it's spoken. It's a mantra for our identity. You know, and it is the illusion of separation, all of these different attributes which make up the algorithm of our individuality, our ego, our lower self, you know. And what if that is what has been mixed with our higher God self, that's unified, and on Eden we were, this one unified species, and that's why this universe is you inverted, right? It's us being perverse and flipped inside out, right, into a negative polarity, or a distorted version of our essence. That way these lower dimensional species and entities can feed off of our energy, right? And through the religions which, I will show you. Let's see if I can find the meaning I'm looking for here for religion. This isn't what I want here. Let's see where it's at here. Well, yeah, worship, cult, adoration, devotion, which, in essence, what it is though is for, religions are a series of rituals and practices and all this and beliefs, right? That way we hold on, to the knowledge that we were given, right? So we practice it out in beliefs and rituals. That way, even the people that don't have an understanding of things are able to practice this through the exoteric, world religions, right? And these religions are designed to give reverence to these deities and these entities that we call God or the gods, is to keep us in line with them spiritually, right? Because we're in essence giving that energy, or, every time we venerate these deities, that's why when you give yourself over to Christ, right? You literally give yourself over to Christ, right? Think about when you go into church, you say, when you're being saved. You're like, I give myself over to you. I acknowledge that you're God. And you know what I'm saying? That you died for me and all of this, right? You're making this profession, and our word is bond. You know, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. Our language is what actually makes us conscious and ties us to this reality. It's that, you know, it's a thought first, you know, then it becomes emotion, energy, emotion. It can be fed off that way. Those emotions given off either attract or repel particular energies or entities, or we speak it, right? And we're speaking that frequency out, and we're attracting or repelling things that way. You know, or we're writing it out, we're attracting or repelling it that way. We are creative spirits, period. We have this amazing ability, you know, and when you think about why the fallen angels, you know, or these deities are jealous of us, it's because of that, this creative essence, right, that we have. And it's being manipulated here on earth, you know, because maybe they don't have it, and it's being transmuted or transfigured into a lower, you know, energy. And think about it. We see 0.0001% of the electromagnetic light spectrum, meaning we're completely blind to 99% of creation. You know, we look outside of the firmament, you know, and what do we see? You know, it's this veil, right? It's obscured from us. It's occulted from us. And space looks black to us, right? It's the darkness of space, meaning we're blind to it. We use 10% of our brains at any given time, meaning we have a governor on our minds to keep us from accessing all of our abilities. Our telomeres have been altered to keep our lifespan short, you know, and then think about how we are attacked.
Leading straight to a pond or lake. End of the quote.
Think about how we are attacked in every aspect of our life, right? Poison our air, poison our water, poison our food, poison our minds, right? Our music. You know, music is a form of hypnosis, right? That's what your body dances in a specific way. You're being hypnotized, right? And your body is getting in sync to the vibration when you're dancing to music. You know, whenever you're watching something, you know, you're being programmed by watching a television program. You know, that language is speaking things over your life. You're binding yourself to whatever you're listening to and hearing and all of this, you know. And knowledge is power, and that's why it's so important, you know, for them to censor everything and silence everything and cancel everyone. Because if you're empowered with this knowledge, and think about it, in the Bible it says, for lack of knowledge surely my people will perish, right? Meaning if you had this knowledge, the more knowledge you have is the more information you have. You have access to information in order to make better decisions, better choices, to understand things, to have gnosis, right? A deeper depth of understanding and wisdom to make the right decisions and the right choices. And you wouldn't decide to participate in the system anymore. You wouldn't decide to give your energy and time and all of this to things that no longer matter or that shouldn't matter. Because once you become aware, once you become made, you know, made aware, and you have knowledge of something, then you're accountable for it. You're responsible for your actions. You're responsible for your choices. You know, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's like, once someone has made you aware of something, you know, say something that offends you or hurts you or, you know, bothers you, then you become, you know, if you're doing something out of ignorance, you know, that's why Christ on the cross, what did he say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He was talking about us. We don't know what we're doing. To one another, to ourselves. That's why he said, you know, the 2 commandments that fulfill the entirety of the law. Love the Lord thy God with all your heart and soul, right? And he was talking about Adonai, right? The highest God, right? The supreme living life force, right? Love the true spirit, Holy Spirit, the living essence with all your heart and soul, which to do that means to be in service to all living creatures, right? It means to live by truth, by love, and to love one another as I have loved you. And his love was that, according to, this story was that he loved us so much, he died for the truth, right? He spoke the truth even at his own detriment and was willing to die for it in order to help enlighten others and save others from this trap. And he told them, all of the religious people, your father is the father of lies. The God that they're worshiping, these gods that they're worshiping. That's why the Bible talks about not to worship the stars, because these are these luminaries, these heavenly hosts, these watchers, these messengers, that are spoken about in all of these texts. The Anunnaki, those from the heaven came, the Elohim, supreme magistrates, right? The archons, the governors. And we think about the occult too, it could also be that the reason these bloodlines, these specific bloodlines, have the... Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, Dave. I'm glad you enjoy the content. But think about it. The reason that these bloodlines and the rulers of the world have access to these mysteries, for one, they are initiated into the mysteries, right? And these initiation rituals, a lot of them bind them to one another and bind them to the deities and entities that are empowering them. You've heard of selling your soul. I did videos on, it is called Le Grand Grimoire, and it's the clavicle of Solomon, right? And it is another, it's also called something of Lucifer too, is another name for it. But it's actually called Le Grand Grimoire, the clavicle of Solomon, and it's a dark fucking book. A dark, dark book. And it talks about how to sell your soul, and and it's the sacrifice of a child, is one of the ways that they do it in that book, that text. I've done videos on this stuff, guys. And you see now, organ harvesting, human trafficking, on my Patreon, I have videos on that stuff too. And it's governments that are behind it, like the Chinese government and, the different children's services in Pennsylvania and all over the world, like, that are behind the abductions of a lot of, kids. And in that book, the rituals in order to do that involve these things. It's not just a coincidence, in my opinion, That's why I've covered the stuff I have. And a lot of people think that I'm evil and, think that I worship Lucifer or Satan or whatever, because, I've changed the way I see things over the years because I've learned so much more than what I knew when I began, and I still believe in God and still love God, like I believe in good and, but it will change the way you look at religion. You can't unsee it once you've seen it. And that's why Solomon said that true knowledge, true wisdom is sorrow. It's sorrow. Because once you start to understand these things, it's sometimes it's downright depressing. It is. It's like once, and I can just give you just different examples, like when you lost your faith in the government and shit, it sucked. It sucked to see that, the government wasn't really for us, like they weren't really trying to protect us from anything. They're the very ones that were committing the crimes and atrocities they were trying to protect us from. And if you spoke out about certain things, they would attack you and target you to silence your ass. No matter if you swore an oath to protect them or not, or serve them or not, they didn't give a fuck. And they would take people out too, and have. You think about that. It's like, damn, that's disheartening as fuck. It makes you lose faith in the system. And then religion too. You start to understand all the religions go back so many thousands of years, and they're all the same stories. They're all the same, and they derive from the same books, the same mythologies, the same text. And that all of it is, astrotheology and different forms of symbolism, and, and then what you get in the world religions, especially the big three, is a false version of them. And when you start to study the occult, there's a reason it's hidden, because it will empower you. It will empower you, and power corrupts people. It corrupts people. It's tempting. It's tempting. And say that's why the knowledge of good and evil is to be like God, right? It's what it was, remember? And what did the serpent say? He don't want you to eat from that tree because he don't want you to be like God. He don't want you to be like him. Right? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Right? The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they're two different trees, but attached together. It's a mirrored image. One tree is pointing up, one's pointing down. As above, so below. The Star of Thelema, the Star of David. The Keys of Solomon. And you start to understand these things, and it's fucking... And remember, he says, when you eat from that tree, surely you will die. Surely you will die. And it's true. It's true. If humanity was in fact in this Edenic state or Edenic state of perpetual immortality, no pain, no misery, no nothing. And he says, surely you would be like God. Now think about who God was. Was they talking about the creator of the universe? No. God, in every, 99% of the Bible translates to supreme angels, supreme magistrates, Elohim. And even when it says El, it means the lofty one, which is another word for Anunnaki. Right? Those from the heaven came, the lofty ones, right? I could go on and on. Even in the book of Enoch, the watchers, the messengers, the princes, great princes. These are angels, archangels, luminaries, heavenly hosts, seraphim, cherubim, All about control. That's right, Dave. All about control. And then you see the apple never falls too far from the tree, does it not? Remember, these archons another word for them is governors, right? They're the rulers of the reality. They are the governors. These planets, these 7 planetary entities. Meaning they're the lords. They lord over. That's why he's Lord. They always say Lord God, right? They're lords, lording over us. And think about that. Government. It's a system of control to control. It's government. Mentality, our minds, controlling our minds, because our minds is the masculine aspect of us, right? It's the masculine aspect of us. which gives place to the physical world. The feminine is a spiritual, creative, intuitive aspect of us. We put those two together, right? And we get us. We get us. We get that physical version. The mind partakes in both the spiritual and the physical world. It has the ability to receive the thoughts, which are transmissions from the spirit, right? And then take those thoughts and turn them into energy and motion and emotions, and turn them into words, right? And turn them into symbols. Nice to see you up door 73. Now we'll take a look at some of this other stuff here. This is a list of some of the alleged extraterrestrial beings or entities. And I do want to ask everybody to please hit that thumbs up, hit the like if you're in the chat here. That really helps me. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel and click all on the notification bell. And I am going to also tell you we have some cool things going on right now on Patreon. Patreon is becoming my main platform now. I have a free tier on Patreon, and I do have free content on Patreon, and there will be lots more free content on Patreon. But all of my private content and uncensored content is on Patreon itself now. They've changed the way that it works quite a bit. And I am moving my catalog from all my channels. You can subscribe to John Keen, which it's youtube.com, John Keen 33. Best Damn Podcast 2, which is youtube.com, Best Damn Podcast, or the main channel, Best Damn Podcast Official. My back catalog of content is being moved all to Patreon. And I also have private playlists, which is, the Forbidden Occult series, Mysteries of the God series, the Necronomicon series, the Gateway Process series. I've done so many cool fucking series that are just some of my best and greatest work. And those are all on Patreon as well. For you guys, and you can watch it directly there. You don't have to. Used to, I had to, put it in external shit. It's no longer now. As well as, I'm adding, and I already have some different, text and books and stuff available there. That way you can read a lot of the stuff that we check out on here. And like I said, the back catalog is going there, And the cheapest tier is $5, and it goes up from there. I am doing a giveaway, so it's now till the 1st of the year, and it is called the BDP Ultimate Fan, and this is $100 a month fan package for free, and you will get it for free for 3 months. It's a gift that I'm doing on Patreon. For the holiday season, we are now able to gift things, which is cool. You can buy gifts, memberships, and give them to others if you choose. You can buy gift tarot readings and give them to others if you choose. But I'm asking that everybody who donates at least $25 or more from now till the 1st will be entered. And if you did $100, I'll give you 5 entries. But say, every $25 counts as an entry, or if you purchase a $25 membership on Patreon, same thing, right? And right now I have 10% off of my tarot readings, and it's the code hookup10 on Patreon, hookup10, and then 25% off the first 6 months of all memberships, $25 and up, and it's called BDP Xmas 25. BDP Xmas 25. You're not going to get a discount on the $5 and $10 ones, but $25 and up, and everybody who does donates or buys one of those is entered to win. And once I have enough people Then I'll announce a winner if it's before the 1st or not, at the 1st. And you will get 3 months free of the $100 a month, meaning you get all of the content. You can watch any of the old uncensored content, my entire library of content. It's yours to watch. As well as you will get a free hoodie, and a free t-shirt, so you'll have to put in your address and your size and all of that, where you want it delivered to. And you will get a free tarot reading as well that you can book through the site, and a $25 membership for 3 months to give to another person. So, I mean, it's literally like over a $500 value, so for $25, you got a chance to win it, and not a lot of people donate, to content creators these days. So I'm telling you, you got a really good chance, and maybe I'll do more than one person. I don't know, but we'll see. At least one person will win that. I might do a couple. I might even gift a couple of memberships to people that just donate, from now till the 1st. So there's that. Those are the discounts as well. Check those out. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the other channels. I just got my channel, John Keene, back as well. I'll be posting there too. Follow me Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All the links are in the description. I also put them in the chat at the very beginning, and I'll pin them at the top of the comment section, whatever platform you're going to see this on. Let's get back to the content. And like I said, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining me. So this is the list of entities that we have. And it says the Flatwood Monster. I've never heard of this. And I'm not going to go through the entire list. I just want to show you some of them. And this is West Virginia folklore. Creature reported to have been sighted in the town of Flatwoods in Braxton County, West Virginia. And this is 1952 after a bright light crossed the night sky. And it's a tall humanoid with a spade-shaped head. Looks pretty weird. The Hopkinsville Goblin. And this is an encounter claimed with the beings that occurred near the communities of Kelly and Hopkinsville, Christian County, Kentucky. This is 1955. It's a diminutive green humanoid, small greenish silver humanoid, little green men. Right? We've all heard of the little green men. The Nordic aliens, or tall whites, is a name given to the alleged humanoid extraterrestrials purported to come from the Pleiades, who resemble Nordic Scandinavians. And you've also heard probably about these in different ways too. If you look at like the Mayans, when the Spaniards came, right, during the Inquisition, they actually thought that it was these guys returning, right? Because Quetzalcoatl was a tall white entity. He was a tall white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, right? So, when a lot of these, people were coming there, they thought that, it was them returning because they had these giant fucking ships and, so, and remember, these spaceships were considered to be boats of the sky in essence, right? And they sailed the seas of the heavens, right? The Great Sea, right? And, it kind of makes you think too, as well, and see they were connected with Pleiadians, the Venusians as well, right? And I want you to kind of think too, during these ages, these cycles, like the Taurian age and all of this, right, where everything was Venusian, right? It was, everything was written on copper, it was of Venus, it was the divine feminine, right? There was a lot of the Venusian worship at that time, Pleiadian worship at that time, and you've seen it making a reemergence now. A lot of groups of people, and I've talked a lot about it. People hate me for it, but they hate me for a lot of things, so I don't really give a fuck. They believe that they are in contact, with Pleiadians, and they channel messages and all of this, and believe they're talking to entities from the Pleiades, and a lot of channels have been created off of this. What is it? Trying to think. cosmic agency is one of them, right? Taygeta, the Taygetans and Pleiadians and all of this, right? It's a big fucking, it's a big thing, in the spiritual community, especially in the New Age community, and a lot of people propose that these are good beings, good entities. They're here to, help mankind along with their evolution and, all of this. I'm sure you guys are very, very familiar with this, and you're very familiar with the concept and have heard it yourself. And so much so, many people believe they come from the Pleiades as well. If you look into the Bible, it talks about, the Pleiades multiple times, and it doesn't speak of them in a good light. So I'm just saying, it's up to you on how you perceive that. We have the cryptozoological animals and cryptobotanical animals, and these are golems, dwarfs, giants from Atlantis, right? Mothmen, Loch Ness monsters, all of these, man. And I just want to kind of, the Atlanteans, right? And this, the Atlanteans, this is looked at as, like Thoth, right? Atlantis, this was this great civilization that allegedly had fallen, and some people believe that we actually were the Atlanteans, and that was before our fall, consciously, or before. And if you think about the story of Atlantis, and I just want to kind of put this out there, you think about the story of Atlantis. It was basically alleged that we had tore a hole in the dimensions, right? By messing with, dark magic, and what it, in this tear in space and time, or this dimensional tear, or even, a tear in the firmament, who knows, where it actually took place at. This tear is what allowed negative entities and distorted entities and, these negative polarized beings to come into our space. And they poured in from this other side, from this lower dimension, right? Because people were practicing, black magic, witchcraft, dark magic in essence, So, and this was at the fall of Atlantis, at the end of their cycle, right? So I'm just saying this is, I don't know if this is true or not, but notice Atlantis is described as a naval empire once again, right? This goes along with the maritime law and the legalese, and how, these entities are in space ships, right? The separation of the waters above the firmament, the waters below the firmament. You look at Enki, and he was first Ea, which is Lord of the water, right? Then he became Lord of the earth after that, right? Which means first he was in the heavens, then he was on the earth, right? And you kind of think too, when we're born, and we talked about this, how it's doctors and, the soles of our feet, and, all of this, when we're given our slave number and we're put into bondage, right? That social security, right? Number that we have, where, they borrow the national debt, based on the amount of taxes they believe you will pay into the system in your life, right? So they're borrowing against your energy, your essence, and enslaving you to the system, unless you're a sovereign citizen or anything like that. That's why the government will absolutely fuck you up for being a sovereign faster than anything else in the world, right? There are people throughout time that's taught people, how to naturalize themselves and get away from, these laws that have been implemented, and break out of, the social security shit, and be bonded, be their own nation, their own sovereign entity, and a lot of people that, guide others in that, they're killed a lot of times, or taken out, So I'm just saying, or heavily censored, or heavily demonized, Then we have the reptilians and reptoids, which, ancient astronauts. These are the ancient astronaut theories. And you look at Göbekli Tepe, You know, all of these different places across the earth, and you see like serpent beings and shit like this, you know, and let's see if we can show you, right? You see them, and this is a pseudo-scientific set of beliefs that holds that intelligent extraterrestrial beings visited Earth, made contact with humans in antiquity and prehistoric times, right? And think about this, you know, them making contact with us, we don't know if it actually fucking happened on Earth or not. You know, that's just the truth. We don't know if it actually happened on Earth or not. You know, and many people, you know, they can say what they want, but it was the indigenous cultures that had contact with them. The indigenous are the original people, right? So they were either seeded here by these ETs, or you know, they were visited by them first to be altered by them. And you know, you'll hear of like tales from you know, Hopi and different indigenous tribes where there was cataclysms, and these ant people, like these mantis looking people, essentially took them into tunnels, you know, of the earth during the Great Flood and these different cataclysms. And, you know, this kind of takes us back to where we're talking about earlier, you know, in Genesis and shit, how, you know, the earth was destroyed. It was just, you know, destruction when, you know, humankind was made in the image, you know, and there's more than one destruction that has actually taken place. You know, I'm just saying, you know, you start to look at all this and it really does fucking make sense, you know. And I don't like how they, you know, they call this just you know, the reptilians, the reptoid archons, saurians, draconians, or lizard people are reptilian humanoids, and they claim that shape-shifting reptilian aliens control Earth by taking on human form, gaining political power to manipulate human societies. And David Icke has stated on multiple occasions that many world leaders are or are possessed by so-called reptilians. And some conspiracy theorists espousing the extraterrestrial hypothesis claim they either come from the Draco constellation or the Orion constellation, or are allies with nefarious extraterrestrials from the Orion constellation. Others claim they are intradimensional and come from another universe or dimension. And I just kind of want you to fucking think about that too, right? If they came from another universe or dimension, you hear of like God, he stands with his foot on the vault of the universe, right? And if we are in fact living in a simulation, you know, that would make a whole lot of sense of them, you know, coming from, you know, another dimension or another universe, because it, you know, they created this universe or self-contained universe or dimension. And, you know, we can't see outside of the firmament. We can't leave here. We're trapped here, right? And outside of that being like the real universe, but because they created it, they are able to, you know, participate in it, you know. And if they are some other dimensional entity, a higher dimension, you know, they would still be able to come down and visit lower dimensions. We just wouldn't be able to reach the heights that they are at, because guess what? We have governors on our brains where we use 10%. We can only see 0.0001% electromagnetic light spectrum. We have our chakra system, which only allows us to ascend to a state of Christ consciousness, right? We can't even go higher than that. And we don't even know if there is higher than that. You know, we just start to really think of these things. And it's like, fuck, you know, a lot of it really does make sense, you know, when you really start to think about this. We have the Silurian hypothesis, and let me see if make sure you guys. Looks like we still got sound and everything like that too. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yeah, so I mean, and let's just fucking keep it real here, you know. They talk about, you know, if there was like nuclear disasters, there would be fucking, you know, fallout and all of this. There are places on planet Earth where, you know, entire areas have been turned to glass, you know, and whether you believe in dinosaurs or not, when they uncover a lot of these fucking fossils, guess what they're covered in? Radiation, you know? So I'm just saying, man. And a lot of people believe that dinosaurs were, in fact, reptilians, you know, as well. So, you know, who fucking knows, right? And if these entities, these deities, were technological beings like fucking Transformers or Decepticons, you know? And I know this sounds so far out there. I sound like a raging lunatic talking about this shit. But if they were, you know, literally, you guys should check it out on Patreon. I did a video. Oh gosh, what is his name? But he allegedly had discovered, dude, he's pretty known. Jesus. It'll come to me, but he had found this NASA photo, right? Like 10 years to the day after, you know, this, the Mayan long count ended, the last Baktun or whatever, in December 21st, 2012, you know, that allegedly ended the age of Pisces, the old cycle. And he found it 10 years later to the day on NASA's website, and in the sand of the Great Pyramid, it magnetically fucking vibrated into the sand, and it had been there, I guess, for a long time. It was like a multi-dimensional picture. You ever seen like a picture where you can like a hologram? You can like shift the way that you look at it. Anybody remember what that guy's name was? I know a lot of you guys in here you watch that show, you know, or some of you have at least. If anybody remembers what his name was, let me know. But I've got the video. I think it's actually on Best Damn Podcast 2 still. It's in my interviews and guest section. You'll see it. It's a big image of a giant alien head in the sand of the Great Pyramid. You know, a giant fucking alien head. And these were allegedly the Anunnaki. And he described these beings, these entities, as technological beings, right? They were like made of like translucent glass and metal and like brass, and you know what I'm saying? Like it was just wild. And without sounding like a raging lunatic any more than I already am right now, he had spoken this incantation in Hebrew, right? It says, basically the English translation was, Father, where do you come from? Where do you really come from? Something like that, you know? And he went out into water, you know, because you ground yourself to water and shit like that. And this incantation, he put his hands up in the air, his palms facing the sky, and he says this, right, facing the east, you know. And I thought the guy was crazy. It's Gary Parker is his name. Gary Parker is his name. He actually had started off trying to do a restoration of the Great Pyramid and had Elon Musk and the Virgin Mobile Richard Branson guy behind it to restore the Great Pyramid. Some Midnight something was the website he was doing. I mean, he was doing some big things, and all of a sudden this happened to him, and he drops all the Great Pyramid shit. Has this dream or this vision or whatever where this alien comes to him and tells him to open his computer and go to the NASA website and look at this particular thing, sees this image of creation, monkeys there, and there was like a fucking comet that hit the earth and had this giant serpent. It had Jesus on a cross, and it had like the river of souls, and Christ was about halfway down the river, and then it forked off. Like Christ was like a shortcut to heaven and shit. It was wild, dude. It was wild. The image is with the video too. If you guys want to watch the video, it's an interview with Gary Parker. It's on Best Damn Podcast 2. So, watch it after this one, but it's wild, man. And, and all this had vibrated in the sand, but there was also written in Hebrew in the sand. And it said, Lord and Lord of the underworld. I mean, the shit was absolutely spooky. Spooky. And I went and did what this guy said after watching him on WSO, which was this, channel that used to be around. And I heard Steve interview him on WSO, and I fucking thought it was a fascinating interview. And I'm like, okay, this guy is crazy as fuck, right? So I go do what he did, and I seen a damn object light up in the sky. And I'm like, damn, man, maybe he's telling the truth. So I contact him, and I brought him on for an interview, and it was just amazing, man. It's just one of the crazier stories I've ever heard. And he described these Anunnaki being as like being holographic in presence. When they came to him at the water, he said they had a holographic projection and they were giants. And what is that movie where the alien entities are like they're made of like brass and shit? He described them as basically looking like that, like giant brass and translucent glass, and that they had souls inside of their bellies and hearts. Like you could see through the guy who stood with his feet in the water and yelled, "Yes, Bailey. Yes, man. Yes, Bailey." Riddick. Yes. Well, it is like Riddick, a lot like Riddick, but it's an older movie that I'm talking about. But yes, it is a lot like Riddick. Yes. Yeah, Bailey. He was very interesting. And Bailey used to do the show with me. Bailey's pretty much my best co-host I've ever had. We had a lot of fun too. Had a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, Gary Parker was he was amazing. He had just a crazy story, and it was just in these ancient entities that he called the Anunnaki. And he said he called the one father or whatever, Allah, right? Abba is what he called him. Abba. Right? Abba was the name that he called the one he talked to, and it was just insane. And he described them as being like machine-like beings made of like brass and gold, and on the inside they had like translucent, like a translucent chest and shit, man. And you could see like in some of, their heart and bellies, and it was full of souls, like it was faces of people, and he said he was even describing like the people that were inside of them looked like really historic looking and shit. Like they were dated from like a very old time. It was just mind blowing. When I heard it, I'm like, wow, this just sounds too crazy to even be true. And then, so you can take that or leave that, with how, whatever you think, but I'm just saying the fifth element. Yes. The fifth element. Yes, absolutely. It was the fifth element. Yes. So thank you. Thank you for that, Carrie, Bailey, Lags. Nice to see you guys in the chat here. Everybody make sure you hit that thumbs up. But like I said, man, come on, come on. And we've talked about the zoo hypothesis. So in the Fermi paradox as well, which says it's given the vastness of the universe, the probability implies that life is evolving elsewhere. And and it was by 1950, Enrico Fermi had a range of answers from the benign to the absolutely terrifying. One is that simply hasn't been enough time yet. Alien civilizations may prioritize, as we do, searching for techno signatures, which we simply haven't been broadcasting for long enough. On the other end of the spectrum, it could be that the tendency throughout the universe for civilizations to destroy themselves before they reach advancement to make contact. Now, I want you to kind of think about this too. This is one of the theories I've also heard out there, with the destruction thing, is that the ultimate, and I believe I heard it by a Billy Carson on Joe Rogan. Could have been him or it could have been another podcast. I was listening to a podcast one time and I heard, dude basically describing like that the natural evolution of the universe and creation, most civilizations, and you think about Terrence Howard and how he talked about how the planets migrate out of the Goldilocks zone because they're moving like an inch and a half a year or whatever away from the sun. So every planet at one point in time was inhabited by life and in the Goldilocks zone, and this is Earth's era, and that next it will be Venus, and Mars was the last era, and that's why it used to be like Earth, and that's why the Anunnaki said that it was a waypoint, a way station, right, on the way to Earth, that it used to actually be inhabited. That's why, there are fucking pyramids on Mars and all of this shit, right? According to, the theory, right? And I'll show you that one more time. Right? You see, these pyramids and all this shit on Mars that have been, discovered here, and they look just like the shit on Earth, and Mars having, ice on it, and, at one point in time being like the Earth. It's because it's migrated out of that Goldilocks zone, according to Terrence Howard and his theory, that everything incrementally is moving or expanding away from the sun, right? So we are at our time period now, so we only have a finite period of time in order to advance and evolve to be able to leave our planet and become, an interdimensional species, to be able to travel between dimensions and travel, throughout the universe, and to go to other planets and to basically escape our escape death, right? Escape death. And that's why, the natural progression is to transhumanism, right? To leave being a biological entity, And this is where a lot of that comes into play. That's why, like the, futurist and all of this believe that, transhumanism is the next step in evolution. Okay. And, whether you agree or disagree, I'm just saying, and that this theory basically says that as the planets migrate, it's like that everywhere, basically. All of the different galaxies and solar systems within these galaxies throughout the entirety of the universe, most civilizations do not make it. Most civilizations don't develop consciously and emotionally as fast as they do physically, right? So they're basically immature species like man is, right? They blow themselves up and, they fucking fight and war and do all these crazy things and kill themselves or destroy their planet or just run out of time and become extinct because their planet can no longer, host life anymore, or they run out of, they run out of resources, right? The planet, is void of resources because they use all of them. And that life is so rare within the universe that, species like the Anunnaki, species, like these angels, watchers, extraterrestrials that are spacefaring species travel and seed different planets, right? That are habitable and host life, or they give species that are already there a boost, right? By mixing their genetics or altering their genetics or whatever, right? And you can see that in a couple of different ways. Like a species that goes along and fucking enslaves everybody, right? Like a negatively polarized species that, they go along and they mix their genetics so they can enslave all of them, and they put governors on their brains and, consciously, and, put them in, shit like that, right? Or what if we, so there's those type of species that could exist, that exploit everybody for their resources because they've already, made it to this godlike status. And they don't believe that we're going to make it anyways. Most don't, and then there's the theory that there are benevolent entities that actually help along the evolution of these different entities, right? They help them along by giving them a boost, with technology. They help them along by giving them a boost with technology and everything else to make sure that they do evolve to be able to make it past that point, because it's so rare to have intelligent life in the universe, and intelligent life is a very rare gift, so there's that, and that that's kind of what has happened here. And like they monitor us, they don't really interfere too much. They just kind of like drop little shit to help us evolve. And then they kind of keep us from blowing ourselves up in the meantime. They're like, watchers, right? They're just like lording over us like parents, guiding us along gently to, the next phase or the next level, and that could possibly be, but there's another way of looking at this, of like, if the earth, in fact, was already, if it was Tiamat and it was destroyed, and the asteroid belt, the hammered bracelet, is the remnants of that, right? And Kingu, or the moon, was some sort of satellite, of Tiamat, or whatever, or even an artificial satellite being used by these entities. Who knows? That's another theory out there. And we do live in some holographic simulation, or, computer simulation, which it does appear more and more as we advance and evolve and, study quantum physics and quantum mechanics and things of that nature. And we see artificial intelligence and, quantum computation advance, and how they're both one and the same, and how we appear to be a form of artificial intelligence and made out of binary code, and everything seems to be binary code, right? In this duality, these ones and zeros and good and evil polarity and all of it, right? And that we live in this firmament, which would be like an enclosed terrarium. It would be, it'd be an enclosed habitat that maybe we have already destroyed ourselves, right? Maybe we already ended ourselves. Or maybe there was another species that came and already destroyed us, right? They decided to what we were too violent, we were too, we wanted to war too much. We were, and they didn't want us being able to spread across the universe, because they knew that if we advance, we'd conquer everybody, because we conquer each other. We war with each other. We kill each other. We're a violent species. And you could think of it like that. So they put us in an enclosure to quarantine us from the rest of creation. And in the Urantia, let me see where it's at here. Got it in here somewhere. Hold on. We've got so much stuff to share with you guys tonight on, and just, we're going to go in a lot of different directions, right? It's called the Lucifer Rebellion, where they essentially quarantined, because of this rebellion against the council. And I'll read a little bit of this. This is from the Urantia book. It's called the Lucifer Rebellion. Now, Lucifer was a brilliant primary Lanendek son of Nebadon. He had experienced service in many systems. He had been a high counselor of his group and was distinguished for wisdom, sagacity, and efficiency. Lucifer was number 37 of his order. And think about the Anunnaki and the way that they're numbered and shit like that. You know how Enki is number 40 and all that, right? And when commissioned by the Melchizedeks, he was designated as one of the 100 most able and brilliant personalities in more than 700,000 of his kind. From such a magnificent beginning, through evil and error, he embraced sin and now is numbered as one of 3 system sovereigns in Nebadon who have succumbed to the urge of self and surrendered to the sophistry of spurious personal liberty, rejection of universal allegiance, and disregard of fraternal obligations, blindness to cosmic relationships. And think about this. Samael, he's known as the god of the blind, right? In the Gnostic text, and how we are blind to the vastness of space and creation. We only see 0.0001% of the electromagnetic light spectrum, right? In the universe of Nebadon, the domain of Christ Michael, there are 10,000 systems of inhabited worlds, and all the history of Lanandek suns and their work throughout these thousands of systems. And at the universe headquarters, only 3 system sovereigns have ever been found in contempt of the government of the Creator Sun. Lucifer was not an ascendant being. He was a created son of the local universe. And of him it was said, you were perfect in all your ways from the day you were created till unrighteousness was found in you. Many times he had been in council with the most highs of Edentia, right? Eden, right? And he was perfect in this Edenic state. Lucifer reigned upon the holy mountain of God, the administrative mount of Jerusalem, for he was the chief executive of great system of 607 or 607 inhabited worlds, which is 13. 6 plus 0 plus 7, 13. Lucifer was a magnificent being, brilliant personality, stood next to the most high fathers of the constellations in the direct line of universe authority. Notwithstanding Lucifer's transgression, subordinate intelligences refrained from showing him disrespect and disdain prior to Michael's bestowal on Urantia. Even the archangel of Michael at the time of Moses' resurrection did not bring against him an accusing judgment, but simply said, the judge rebuke you. Judgment in such matters belongs to the Ancient of Days, the rulers of the super universe. And they're, saying it at this, like this galactic federation, right? All of these different, entities, basically. Very little was heard of Lucifer on Urantia, owing to the fact that he assigned his first lieutenant, Satan, to advocate his cause on your planet. Satan was a member of the same primary group of Lanandeks, but he had never functioned as a system sovereign. He entered fully into the Lucifer insurrection. The devil is none other than Caligastia, the deposed planetary prince of Urantia, and a son of the secondary order of Lanandeks. At the time Michael is on Urantia in the flesh, Lucifer, Satan, and Caligastia were leagued together to effect the miscarriage of his bestowal mission, but they signally failed. Abaddon was the chief of the staff of Caligastia, and Abaddon's the destroyer, right? He followed his masters into rebellion, and he has ever since acted as a chief executive of the Urantia rebels. Beelzebub was the leader of the disloyal Midway creatures, and these are the Midway, right? Midway, think about the 369 thing, right? And 6 representing the middle world, right? Middle Earth, right? Midgard, and between 3 being that triune inner creative force, and 9 being the highest or outside of creation, like the throne of God, right? And creatures who allied themselves with the forces of the traitorous Caligastia. The dragon eventually became the symbolic representation of all these evil personages. Upon the triumph of Michael, Gabriel came down from Salvington and bound the dragon, all the rebel leaders, for an age. He bound them, right? Tied them down to something or to something for an age, a cycle. Of the Jerusalem seraphic rebels, it is written, and the angels who kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he has reserved in sure chains of darkness for the judgment of the great day. Now think about that. Who is that, man? The angels who kept not their first estate. Is that humanity? Is that humanity? Chains of darkness to the judgment of the great day. The darkness, and think about it. You know, when we look at Genesis, it says we're a phantom, a projection, illusion. We are a shade, a shadow. That is darkness, right? We are in darkness. The light is hidden from our eyes. And you look in the book of Enoch. Where's that here? One second. Here we go. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spake, and sent Uriel, the son of Lamech, and said to him, go to Noah and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is Dudael, and cast him therein, and placed upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light. And on the great day of judgment he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. Now think about that. I just want you to think about how fucking similar all of these stories are, right? The Urantia, right? Genesis saying that, the earth was already destroyed, right? Desolate. The fall from the Garden of Eden, right? Being tempted by these fire beings, these seraphim, these gods, these angels, right? The Anunnaki, those from the heaven came, who made, men out of the mud, and took the man who was already here and mixed their DNA to create a slave race, genetically altered them, limited their years, destroyed them, right? There was a flood, and instead of Noah, his name was Vasudra, right? I just want you to think about all these different, mythologies, all these different tales, all of these different ancient texts, and what they're all saying the same fucking thing, right? And that we would be hidden, right? And remember, the seraphim is a covering being, right? It covers the feet, right? The earth is God's footstool, man, right? covers and hides the face of God, which God is the light. Right? Tell him, hide thyself and reveal him to the end that is approaching. These are the end of the cycles, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him he may escape, leaving the earth, escape, right? Because this is a prison. And his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world. So the seed of the gods, the seed of who participated in this is us, right? But what happened? We were bound to the ones that fucked us over, right? Bind Azazel, hand and foot, hands nailed, feet nailed, Yahweh, Jehovah, right? The Tetragrammaton. Shit. See if I can get these pictures here. Bailey says, one of the oldest ranchers in my hometown, and I found connections between them and MK Ultra in my city. I have no fucking doubt about that, Bailey. Not even a little bit. Like, seriously. No doubt about that whatsoever. Oops. Yod-He, Vah-He. And different translations. It says hand behold, nail behold, right? How about that? Yod-He, Vah-He. Think about it. And it is intended to be pronounced as Elohim, Adonai, right? It's a tetragrammaton, right? I'm just telling you guys, you know, you start thinking about all this shit and it's like, wow. How are we really interpreting things, you know? How are we truly interpreting things? You know, are we really, you know, having a correct interpretation of this stuff? You know, we're being told, you know, what we are. You know, we're being told, you know, we're just a shadow of something else. Right? Multiply to increase. Right? And to conquer and subjugate is what it says. To conquer and subjugate. If we look at Genesis 6. When humankind began to multiply, to cast together on the face of the earth, I remember seeing that you know, that face is being hidden, and the daughters were born, the sons of God, right? The sons of God, and these are supreme ones. These are the sons of the angels. This is the Nephilim, the sons of the angels, right? Intermingled with us. Saw that the daughters of humankind were beautiful. They took wives for themselves, and from any they chose. So the Lord said, my spirit will not remain in humankind indefinitely for eternity. Since they are mortal, they will remain for 120 more years. the Nephilim, which is feller, bully, or tyrant, right? Nephil, right? Comes from Nephal, right? See, Nephal, which means cast down, right? Outcast, divide, fail, fugitive, overthrow. Think about that. To fall, Nephal, to fall, to be cast down. The Nephilim were on the earth, right? Saw the wickedness of humankind because we were afflicted, right, by these fallen. Had become great on the earth, and every inclination had become abundant in every form or conception of thought in their minds. Think about that, of intentions and their plans and in their hearts were of evil all the time. Now think about what is happening today. Nice to see you, Donna Marie. What is happening today? You know, same thing is still taking place. You know, we have these bloodlines that were allegedly from these Nephilim, right? And we are bombarded, you know, with propaganda, in the form of media, right? The internet, television, radio, music, right? The water is poison, the air is poison, the food is poison, all these things to create wickedness, right? Darkness, evil, corruption in us, to sow division and distortion in our spirits, to put us out of alignment, to keep us in darkness and ignorance. That way we don't have knowledge and we can't empower ourselves and we can't unify, we can't come together. You know why I think this is so? And I think it's far different than what we've been taught, for one. And think about the Coburn Bible. It says that when we came down from the mountains, we forgot our gods and our guides. Meaning when we came down from that state of high consciousness, right? We forgot where we came from. We forgot the order of things. You know? We had been fucked with. And they destroyed the earth. And think about, by a flood, it was the waters of the heavens that came in. Right? The waters of the heavens had came in. The firmament opened up and then bringing it, to allow the gods to escape and imprison us with the darkness. Bind us to the darkness. And the seed would be bound here forever. Think about that. Think about that. That's how we were altered. Because we were evil. We were fallen, right? But we were fallen and evil because we were brought here. Somebody brought us here. We were trapped here. We were in our Edenic state in Eden. An entity, the serpent, in the garden, came and tempted us, right? And watch, I'm just going to show you something too. Hold on. I want to show you the garden right here. Hold on. Where's it at here? Talks about how they were covered right here. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit, right? This is a tree of life, right? Bearing good fruit. They cover themselves with green leaves. That's green is neutral as well, right? Wherefore give ye heed, and with regard to all, and recognize how he that liveth forever hath made them so. In our original state, right? We weren't polarized to, or divided at all. We were unified. We were unified in a state of peace and bliss. And then in the tree, right? The tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the serpent, he comes into this garden, this Edenic state, right? And tempts us and says, don't eat from that tree because surely you will be like God, right? God meaning supreme magistrate, supreme angels. Surely you'll be like them. Then their sons, their children came and mated with us. And all of a sudden we're evil as fuck. And evil is, pestilence is all throughout the earth. And they decide that they're going to destroy the earth, but they're going to escape. Their sons are going to escape. And then leave us here bound with the shit that they left us with. The darkness they left us with. And we're the ones quarantined from the rest of the solar system, from the rest of the universe as a result. And think about it, this deed, right? This curse that they swore on Mount Hermon, and this slave race that was created to mine gold, and because the atmosphere had a hole in it on Nibiru. Well, was a hole created because they opened it up to pour this flood on us? They destroyed us on purpose, right? For an evil that they tempted us with, for an evil that they put here. They took us from our original spot, our original place, and now we have a battle of good and evil all the time, where either side, we're slaves to either side, whichever way we choose. Understand the situation, understand the situation. And then you ask yourself, why the fuck doesn't the government try to shoot down UFOs anymore? Why don't they try to look into UFOs and aliens? Because they already know they can't do a fucking thing about it. Those at the very top, majestic 12, are the 12 powerful families, right? These bloodlines of these Nephilim, right? Who were left as kings and pharaohs to rule over all of our ass. And they were indoctrinated into the occult, the hidden mysteries, initiated into the mysteries, bound by oaths to secrecy, bound by oaths, right? To serve the gods that give it, Satan, Lucifer, this enlightenment, this light bearer, right? Shining light on the darkness, the hidden. Why? Because, these seraphim, right? They're a covering, right? For the earth, for the feet of God. God's footstool is the earth. It's humans. He stands with his foot on the vault of the fucking universe. Our universe, because there's nothing outside of us. We can see nothing but darkness. We probably live in a whole separate dimension than all these motherfuckers. That's why they're interdimensional and come in and out of space however they want to. That's why we can't see them. They can see us, right? Because they've rigged the game against us. They've already destroyed us. We know in Genesis it said the earth was desolate and a fucking waste and all of these things. Be fruitful and multiply. Who's the fruit? Who's eating the fruit? Not us. We're being divided. We're being reproduced and, mass produced like cattle. We live in a fucking terrarium is what we live in, and we can't leave it. When we were creating atomic bombs, we were trying to blow holes in this bitch to get out of here. Why? We had to fake moon landings to make people think that we can leave. Why? They know there's no leaving. Project Blue Book shut down. Why? They know. You ever heard of Eisenhower's agreement with the Anunnaki and shit? Bullshit. Bullshit. And that's why at the end of his his time, he warned everybody against the military-industrial complex, because he knew. He knew. The CIA, the military-industrial complex, right? They're not a part of the government because they're above the government, right? Men in black, all of this. They're those sworn to these oaths, these societies, these Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, right? This hidden hand that operates in darkness and in secret because they can't tell people. That's why there's no disclosure. They can't tell you. They're not allowed. They're not allowed. You'd blow your fucking head off if they told you. That's why they've even said such things. They've said that if we told people the truth, right? They'd lose they'd stop going to work. They'd riot. Why? Why? They'd find out where we really came from. The planet that we really came from was destroyed. Right? That we're living in a simulation because our species is already extinct. And that who we call God is the one who did it to us to make it, to enslave us. Why do you think in, the Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and all these, epics of the Indian tales and shit, it's the gods warring and shit like that? With these, these weapons of evil and dread, these ultimate weapons, Anunnaki too, right? The evil wind and all of it. Why? They were fighting over us, it seems, or fighting each other to get the fuck off this planet before it, got destroyed. But they always seemed to come together, didn't they? Both sides, they always seemed to come together. Like, yeah, Inky and Enlil, their sides, they were like, yeah, let's all get out of here. We're going to fight over whether or not we destroy them. But once we decide to destroy them, we're all out of here. Our Anunnaki spaceships are going to take off, but we're leaving y'all down here. The humans, you stay. You're not on our team. And you can't tell me, you cannot tell me that, the government doesn't know about these things. They're releasing a report. Department of Defense releases an annual report on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. Analyzing and understanding the potential threats posed by UAP is an ongoing collaborative effort involving many departments and agencies, and the department thanks the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and other contributing departments and agencies for their collaborative efforts to produce this report. And here's videos of them, right? They have videos for you to see, right? Western U.S. objects. Here you go. See how they're defying, gravity? Because they don't operate by the same rules, man. They're not in the same dimension, they don't exist in the same space. The laws of creation don't govern them. They made them up to govern us. We're subject to it. They are not. That's why. Right? We are subject to it. Look at that. Show you another one here. See, this is right off of the defense.gov too, by the way. Here's another one, Middle East objects. Look at that. Woo! Right in front of the camera. Look at that. Woo! What the fuck is that? Crazy as shit, isn't it? Now, show you another one. South Asian object. Amazing stream. Thank you very much. And there's no sound on these videos. So I'm just letting you know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. It's intense, man. This shit's it's Hey Siri, screenshot. That's intense. Right here, they talk about non-human pilots.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and anything related to your work. Your documents, your chats, your whiteboards, your project.
And I hope he lives up.
Wow. And we've even got, many accounts of, people being hypnotically regressed.
Why are you crying if you're not afraid?
I'm afraid now, but I was.
Oh,
I don't. I wasn't afraid. I was afraid when I saw the men in the road.
Men in the road.
I've never been so afraid in my life.
Tell me about the men in the road.
Dr. Benjamin Simon began hypnotic sessions with Betty and Barney Hill on January 4th, 1964. Today we present to you the raw audio of one of those sessions. Through the
But I was. I don't. I wasn't afraid. I was afraid when I saw the men in the road.
Men in the road.
I've never been so afraid in my life.
Tell me about the men in the road. It's all right now. You're safe here. Tell me about the men in the road.
We're driving along. We're on a tarred road, and all of a sudden, without any warning or any reason or rhyme or anything, Barney made he almost, the brakes, I think he was squeal. He stopped so suddenly and made this sharp left-hand turn to the highway, and we went onto this narrow road. I was wondering what he was doing down here, but he wasn't saying anything, and I wasn't. I figured, well, maybe we're lost, but so what? We'll come out somewhere.
And I look toward the sky, and I look back to Dulcie and walk her around the trunk of the car. And I'm saying, hurry up, Betty, so I can get a look. And I recognize this place, and I feel safe. I feel less in the barren hostility. What is this place? What an area. What is this place? It is Indian City. I've been there before.
And he talks about, looking through his binoculars and fucking the entity, staring at him, talking to him through his mind, telling him to stay there. It's just, when we really, really think about like what the evidence says, we've never seen anything good from anything we've seen about aliens or ETs. Not one thing, that I can think of. Every biblical account, every ancient text, angry, wrathful, vengeful gods, punishing us, destroying us, altering us, shortening our lives. The Gnostics and the demiurge, like these demons and deities and all of it. And then you look at like the secrecy behind all of it with the governments of the world and how it's so hidden. And then every encounter you hear about these things, firsthand encounters and abductions, it's always horror stories, where people were terrified, and the hypnotic regression, they're terrified, scared out of their fucking wits, have no recollection or, account of anything that happens usually. Being probed and operated on and experimented on, and just and then our governments turn blind eyes to the shit, because it seems like they can't do a damn thing about it either. And I think that's what bothers me so much when I see like the new age shit and people talking about, Pleiadians and Arcturians and how they're channeling these messages and, they're so benevolent and so good and they're here to help us. It's like, where is your fucking evidence to support that? Where is your evidence to support that? Where are you going to show me anywhere, anywhere, where we've actually seen, something that would back up that claim, where you can actually prove, for one, that you're channeling messages from these alleged entities that you say you're channeling them from. And I'm not saying people don't channel or anything like that, or that you can't tap into the Akashic record or your higher self or any of that. You absolutely can. But I am saying, who's to say they're not being deceived just like we were being deceived, back in the Garden of Eden? That we're being told it's for our evolution or our conscious advancement, and we're being told we're being led to this good place. Have you ever seen, I think it's called the series V. It's from the 80s, where these aliens land and shit, and essentially what they do is, they take over the planet, and we find out that they have our bodies cryogenically frozen somewhere else to eat us, to harvest us. Right? And they're they're with the world leaders and everything. I mean, you really fucking think about this, man. It's like, is this predictive programming, or it's like, is things being unveiled to us? Why has it been said? Why has it been said that the governments of the world can't tell us the truth of these things? Why do they put, fucking disinfo agents like David Wilcock and all these motherfuckers out there, to tell us horseshit stories about these ETs and how they're here to save us and help us? What makes people think that all the different saviors and messiahs and all the different things of the religions that have been these same stories, recycled and repeated, because we're waking up in Groundhog's Day in this bitch. That's why there's nothing new under the sun, right? All these saviors and messiahs that never come, that never save us, that never, we serve them, we're enslaved to them, but they never come save our ass, ever. But now we think all of a sudden, all of these entities that people are channeling are going to do it. And if it truly was, if it was really true, why would it be allowed to, to be so prominent? Why would it be pushed? Why would it be a narrative that's even pushed? And I'm not trying to make people feel shitty about the things that are, taking place on the earth. I'm not saying anything I've said tonight is fact at all. It's just strictly opinion. These are theories. But life is hard enough. It is hard enough, as it is, and I feel like us having this illusion, like someone's going to come save us, or someone's going to come to our rescue, or, that's going to love us unconditionally. It's, at the end of the day, all we truly have is ourselves. That's why it's so important to learn to love yourself, because you can't depend on anything outside of you to do it for you. To learn to take care of yourself, because you can't depend on anyone outside of, you to do it for you. And it's sad the way that, we treat each other. It really is. It's sad. Especially thinking like how, we have all of this stacked up against us. The governments, fucking maybe ETs, demons, deities, and it's like we can't even treat each other right. We can't even be good to each other. Everybody seems to be out for themselves, out for themselves. And they never think of the pain they inflict on others. They never think of how anything affects others until it affects them. Until they're on the receiving end of it. Then it matters. And, I've said this before, COVID showed everybody that. COVID showed everyone. People didn't give a fuck that the government was lying and covering shit up. People didn't give a fuck that people were dying in other countries and shit like that. Until it happened to them, until it happened to the people that they love, until it came to their front door. And we see this in so many different ways. There are homeless people. There's a homeless epidemic in the United States of America. And we send money overseas, billions of dollars that could absolutely solve that problem. And walk past people every day that are homeless, struggling, starving, suffering. You see society and how they've been desensitized, to others' pain. There's no empathy, for another person. It's hard to find, true loyalty. It's hard to find, true friendship. It's hard to find true love in people. Look at the dating pool of our world. all the dating sites and shit like this. Everybody believes they got a billion options because they have, virtual options. It's not real people, and we're so conditioned to speak electronically and remotely now we can't engage in person. We don't know how to interact in person. And people's opinions, no matter how crazy or bullshit or terrible they are reinforced online through these algorithms to the point that they believe their own bullshit. They believe they're right no matter what they do. It's like we're falling for the traps. We're falling for the deception. We're falling for the tricks. This is what keeps us in ignorance. This is what keeps us in darkness. This is what keeps us divided. Say infidelity in marriages, fucking incredibly, high. Like over 50 to 70% of them end in that. Lots of cognitive dissonance. Absolutely cognitive dissonance. And, I think no matter what our situation is here on Earth, whether aliens are real or false, or we live in a simulation, or we're in a terrarium, in a cage, in a prison planet, or, they're good angels, helping us along. It doesn't matter what that is. At the end of the day, and we can theorize and we can speculate, and it's, it's fun and it's entertaining, it's engaging, it's for our minds to be able to think of these things, and we spiritually grow to be able to, increase our knowledge, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and I love the community and the togetherness and the stimulation, because it's ironing sharpen iron when we come together and do this. But at the end of the day, none of it means anything if it doesn't help us become better people. None of our lives mean anything if we're not growing, we're not evolving, we're not changing, we're not becoming better people. We're not impacting other people's lives in a positive way, in a good way. Anytime we're okay with harming others, hurting others, that's something wrong within ourselves. And it's a fatal flaw to our character. It's a lack of integrity. It doesn't mean people don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that, all of our worth is gone because of that. But it's like, if we continue to do that, if we're okay with that, we have become the problem. We are the problem. If we don't take our knowledge and the things that we learn and the things that we study and the things that we know and use it to benefit other people, then what is it for? So we can. Agent Smith was right. Yeah, Bailey. Agent Smith was right. But if we don't take the knowledge and we don't take all the, that we've learned and help others, then what is it for? So we sound smart. We sound smart at the dinner table or online in the comment section. And what is it for? For our egos? If we don't apply it to our lives, what is it for? It's so easy for us to sit back and judge everyone else, especially on the internet, and so easy for us to point our finger at other people. But it's hard to take accountability. It's hard to do that. It's hard to, to admit that we've been wrong, or we've done wrong, or, that's hard. That's hard. It's hard to do the right thing a lot of times too. You know, our ego kicks in, or, you know, we don't always want it, our instant gratification and our urges, and it's hard. You know, it's not easy. But I can say, like, at least, you know, with myself, and I'm nowhere near perfect at all. I make lots of mistakes and, you know, fall short all the time. You know, I can say that at least I feel like I have a heart, though, that isn't built to harm others, you know? Like, it hurts me to know I hurt other people. It hurts me, like, physically hurts me. You know? And my heart breaks when I know I've broken another person's heart. And I don't ever want to be the reason that someone else feels pain. You know? And I don't want to become one of those people, which is basically everyone, or most everyone, that allows the world to harden me to the point to where I stop believing in good, and where I stop believing in love, and where I stop believing in the things that truly do matter. You know, I don't want that. I don't think any of you want that. And if that's happened to you, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, because, you know, there are certain things in life, you know, that I'm just not willing to trade off for. You know, and that to me is selling your soul. You know, selling your soul. It's not about your beliefs and shit like that. It's about the core, the essence of who you are. You know, a soul is a living part of you, and it is connected directly to your heart. Yeah, we get back what we put out. That is a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact. You know. And, you know, no matter how many, you know, people in my life have abused me, you know, lied to me, cheated on me, hurt me, you know, like, I refuse to, like, let that become me, you know, to where I'm willing to, you know, to hurt others because I've been hurt. Or where I, you know, stop valuing a person or a life, you know, over my ego. You know, because once we start doing that, you know, it becomes okay to kill people. It becomes okay to hurt people. It becomes okay to do a lot of things. If we take ourselves so seriously to where we're like, how dare you speak to me that way? How dare you believe differently? How dare you, you know? And I feel like relationship is what is the great teacher of life. It's relationship. You know, it truly is. We learn through, we're social species. You know, and we learn through our interactions with one another. You know, through our friendships, through our, you know, our business dealings, through our love relationships, through our family relationships, you know. That's how we learn. Through those interactions, especially our love relationships, we learn. You know, that's the one relationship where you're required to be completely vulnerable. You know? And I feel like that's what's, you know, the desensitization of society has crippled us. And in that area, especially, but in a lot of areas, to where people aren't willing to be vulnerable anymore, where people aren't willing, and we're taught that it's okay to give up and quit on everything. We're given participation trophies and everything, right? And we have so many options in our materialistic world and this consumerist society. It's like we see people the same way. It's like this person, says something I don't like or does something I don't like. I'll just get rid of them and get somebody else, or I'll just discard them. We don't treat people like people anymore. We treat them like objects, possessions. And I see, a lot on social media in particular that talks about how, we're all the villain in somebody's story and stuff like that. I feel like, everything that we see now is like, it's like catered to make being a bad person okay. It's like we tell ourselves that. Like, oh, we're all a villain in somebody's story. Yeah. No, we're not. And if we're a villain in somebody's story, if we're in somebody's story, we've harmed them to the point to where we're like that, where we've hurt them to that extent, betrayed them to that extent or whatever else. Like, that's not okay. That means we failed in that connection. We failed in that relationship. We failed that person. We failed ourselves, most importantly, because we didn't live up to who we are capable of being and who our potential of who we are is. Because each and every one of us has the potential to be a wonderful person. I do believe that. And every one of us come into this world born full of love, full of optimism, full of life. And we trade it away. We're conditioned through school and our parents and society to give up on our dreams, to give up on our passions. Then we get into the dating world and we're trained and conditioned to give up on love. I was like, I was listening to, just different psychologists, and it was like saying like, people that choose to be perpetually single, just psychologically, because we have to be so vulnerable in relationships, and that they teach us more about ourselves than any other connection that we have in our life. And the darkest, deepest parts of ourselves are brought out, right? All of our wounds, all of just who we really are, our character, all of it. That people choose to be perpetually single, the reason they do so is because they don't want to face themselves. They'll try to paint it as, and society has glorified this, right? Like, hot girl summer, and you know what I mean? Like, living for the moment, you only live once. Like, all of these things are brainwashing, they're programming, to make you that self-centered, selfish person, to not care, and these people live their lives, through flings and one night stands and no strings and shit. And you're welcome to choose to live however you want to live, but they don't value human connection. They don't value people, and they don't understand that, when we connect to other people, no matter how we connect, especially, sexually, it's an astral connection. Our spirits commingle, we should be selective of who we give ourselves and our energy to, not just anyone. We should value ourselves more. We should love ourselves more. You know, and society has been so fucked up that we can't face ourselves, and we hide and run from ourselves through so many different avenues and ways. You know, whether it's, you know, the perpetual singleness, right? Or it's drugs, alcohol, or all these different forms of escapism, and we justify it and we make it okay. I can't tell you how many different people online talk about, I'm this, what are the different character traits of the escapist and all this? And it's like, oh, come on, man. You know, it's like just justifying being a bad person. You know, making it okay to be a bad person. And then they wrap all these things up in self-love, right? They call it self-love, you know, when it's really just selfish, you know. And I've said this before, if you look at like God, right? There's never a reason given of why God loves us, because that would be a condition. You never will find it in any book, in any Bible, in anything. Does that mean that's a condition? You know, and God, the Spirit of God, serves everyone and everything all the time. That Spirit that gives life to all, it's a slave to all. You know, it's in constant service. That's why it's, you know, do what thou wilt, or thy will be done. We're here to serve one another. And if we all did do that, if we all loved one another, respected one another, served one another, you know, nobody would ever be in need of anything. People will find any reason to disqualify you from love, from help, from whatever they have, you know. And I think we've all experienced that in life. You know, and some people may be wondering, like, what does this have to do with aliens? Or it does. This has to do with the conditioning of our world and the conditioning of whatever is running this place, and what we're being fed and what we're ingesting and what we're believing and the way we're becoming, the way we've been. What kind of future is this going to breed? You know, this is the ultimate form of control. We are destroying ourselves. And we're doing it by killing the love, by killing kindness, by killing service. That's why we're being engineered the way that we're being engineered. It's why the propaganda is the way that it is. I can't tell you how many people I've known just from like spiritual communities, you know, lose friends, lose all kind of people because they bought into a lot of this shit now, you know, like, oh, I can't be nice to this person or help this person or love this person anymore because I have to love myself first. And, and it's just horse shit. You know, it's just horse shit. It's nonsense. And they know it. You know, but it's, you know, it's like the Bible said, right? In the last days, you know, these men would have, you know, these doctrines that come from their minds, right? Things to tickle your ears. And that's what we see. That's what we see. Everything is designed to tickle your ears if it feels good, if it's, you know, in whatever brand of religion or school of thought you ascribe to. It's, I guarantee it's one that goes along with what you want, right? You take some parts of some things and throw out the others. It's like the shit you don't want to abide by or follow by, you throw that out. You'll justify it by any means. That's how we have these psychopaths that have justified depopulation and shit. You know, the greater good. Who's greater good? their greater good, not ours, right? That's why in the name of safety and security, it's like, this is what's happened. You know, they do this. They do this, you know, by exploiting our weaknesses, by exploiting our urges. You know, exploiting our desire to serve ourselves and our egos. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I love all of you guys. You know, I do appreciate all of you guys joining me. If you would like to support my work, support the channel, support me, whatever, you can do so by donating. And it's greatly appreciated. Everybody who does, or you know, or who will. PayPal.me, the Best Damn Podcast. Cash App, Best Damn Podcast. Facebook Messenger Pay, Facebook.com, John Keane Best Damn Podcast, or join me over on Patreon. Right now, everybody who joins any $25 tier or up, use code BDPXmas25, right? And you get 25% off for the first few months or 6 months or whatever, right? And it's only on the $25 tiers or up. Anybody who joins those tiers or who donates $25 or up will be entered to win the BDP Ultimate Package. It's a $100 a month package. It'll be free. You don't have to sign up or anything. Free for 3 months. You will get a hoodie. You'll get a t-shirt. The 3-month membership for free, which is all the content. And I said earlier, I'm moving all of my content on Facebook or the majority of it to Patreon. So most of the content, 90% of my content will be on Patreon now. There's a lot already, you know, stuff that's not public at all. But now it's going to be a lot more because I have to remove all of it from the public platforms. You know, I keep getting in trouble and getting strikes and demonetized and all of that. So, but you will get all that content, the hoodie, the t-shirt, a tarot reading, as well as a $25 a month membership for 3 months for free to give to someone of your choice as a gift as well. It's over a $500 value. You know, donate $25, you got a chance to win it. If you do $100, that's 5 entries. So you can enter as many times as you want, or everyone who gets a $25 a month membership or up. Same things. It counts the same till January 1st. January 1st, I'll be giving it out. So you can get gifts as well on Patreon and gift memberships to people. There's that. I do have the free tier on Patreon, so there is free content also if you just want to go sign up on the free stuff. And it is Hookup 10 to give 10% off of tarot readings. And yeah, I think that's about it. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn. Best Damn Podcast 2 is youtube.com, Best Damn Podcast. John Keane on YouTube is youtube.com, John Keane 33. And the main channel is youtube.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching. I love all of you guys. You know, remember, just try and be good people. Keep the love. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.